Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to something we're calling Quarantine Madness. Yes, it took me 15 seconds to come up with that name. But basically what we're doing here is we're using NBA 2K20 to find out who the best college program of all time is. So basically what me and my brother have done is we went through every single player in NBA 2K20's Blacktop mode, all the current teams, classic teams, all-time teams, and we went through all these players, figured out where they went to college, and then from there we saw which colleges could assemble a full roster of 5 players. And so after doing all that and collecting all that data, we discovered that there are 40 possible colleges that you can put together in Blacktop mode. And so we took these 40 teams, put them into a bracket, and had them play some full court games, 5-on-5 to 21, and the winner advanced. So together we're just gonna move through the bracket. I got some first round highlights for us. Like I said, there were 40 teams, so not the best number in the world to make a bracket with, but it's not the worst either. So we just had to do a couple playing games up front, and we'll show those highlights, and then from there we'll jump into round 1. So let's go through it together. Alright, so up first we had Texas A&M taking on St. John's. DeAndre Jordan pretty much dominated this game. He had 11 points, 4 blocks. You can see him making a pretty nice play there. And Texas A&M, they're advancing to the next round. Up next we had 25 USC taking on number 40 Iowa State. I'm not going to lie, Iowa State was just a bunch of 70 overalls. They were definitely the worst seed in this tournament. And as you can see here, DeMar DeRozan pretty much just dunked all over them. Next, we had Syracuse taking on NC State. Carmelo Anthony was the leading scorer for the 'Cuse. He had 9 points and 8 boards, led his team to victory. Up next, we had UNLV taking on Wisconsin. UNLV actually has a pretty nice squad they were able to put together. Isaiah Ryder led them in scoring. He had 10 points, 6 boards, 7 assists. They also had Sean Marion on the squad. He made some pretty big plays for them down the stretch. And yeah, UNLV, they held on 27-25. This one went well past 21, but you can see here Marion with the dunk to close it out. Next, we had FSU taking on Villanova. Villanova shot the lights out in this one. Kyle Lowry was their leading scorer. He had 6 points, but it's pretty much all around pretty even scoring for them. You see they had Bridges, Pascal, just pretty much everyone was knocking down their shots in this one. And this was the first upset of the tournament, Villanova pulling out the dub there. Next, we had the reigning champs of the NCAA, Virginia, taking on Maryland. And Ralph Sampson just dominated this one. You see here he had 17 boards. I think that was because Maryland just kept missing a lot of shots. They really didn't have any shooters out there. But Malcolm Brogdon, Ralph Sampson dominated this game. Cavs got the win. Next, we had Indiana and Purdue, a nice little Big Ten matchup. And Indiana was able to get the dub here. Eric Gordon with 10 points. He shot the lights out. You can see him hitting a 3 there. And also there as well, he really led his team to victory on this one. Next, we had Arkansas taking on Georgia. And 2 of the lower seeds taking on each other, but Dominique Wilkins was able to pretty much single-handedly lead Georgia past Arkansas here. And Arkansas really had a pretty decent squad, but really had no one to guard Wilkins, so Georgia got the dub there. And like I said, we had 40 teams, so those were basically just playing games to get us to 32, and from 32 we could set up a nice little bracket. And so we got the round of 32 highlights coming at you right now. Let's jump into those together. So up first we have the number 1 seed UCLA taking on Texas A&M. This UCLA team, they're just stacked. They had Russell Westbrook leading the way with 7 points in this game, but man, they just got a complete lineup up there. They won this game pretty easily, 21-10. Zach LaVine, Kevin Love, just all all-star caliber players, including a couple Hall of Famers at power forward and center. So they won pretty easily. Next, we had Gonzaga taking on Ohio State. This was a pretty even matchup, but D'Angelo Russell came in clutch here for the Buckeyes, and Havlicek also led the way for them with 7 points, and you see Mike Conley with the game winner there. Next, we had LSU taking on Cincinnati. LSU had a nice little squad, Ben Simmons to Shaq right there. That's a tough combo to beat, so they went on to win this game 21-11. Shaq had 9 points. Up next, we had Michigan taking on 25 USC, coming off that win against Iowa State. And Michigan was able to take care of business here. They won 21-5. Chris Webber was their leading scorer with 5 points, so they're pretty well spread out. Next, we had Georgetown taking on Syracuse. This Georgetown team is really good, led, of course, by Allen Iverson, who had 13 points in this one. That was a tournament high up to this point, and they also had Patrick Ewing on the squad. You can see him making the assist there to AI for the win. Next was the Red River rivalry. We had Texas taking on Oklahoma. Kevin Durant leading the way for Texas with 9 points and 5 boards. They're going to be a tough team to beat in this one. Next, we had Michigan State taking on the 20-seeded Tennessee Volunteers. Magic Johnson, of course, leading the Spartans in scoring, rebounds, assists. He did everything for them. And Michigan State, they actually have quite a few young players on their team, but teamed up with Magic. They were just the better team in that one. Next, we had Kentucky taking on UNLV. Kentucky, man, they're stacked. They got everyone. They got Devin Booker, De'Aaron Fox, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis. They're just Kentucky, Of course, they're going to come in and they're going to put up points. They won 21-12 there. On the other side of the bracket, we have the number 2 seed, UNC, taking on Villanova. We got James Worthy throwing down a between-the-legs dunk there. And, of course, Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time, leading the way for the Tar Heels with 9 points. Next, we had Louisville and Florida. Florida was able to pull off the upset in this one. They got a couple good big men in Al Horford and Joakim Noah, but really it was Bradley Beal's shooting that led the way for them to pull off the victory in that one. Next, we have Wake Forest taking on Arizona State. Wake Forest, of course, with Chris Paul and Tim Duncan, but that was not enough to stop Arizona State. This was one of the highest scoring games in the entire tournament, 30-28, lots of back and forth, but in the end it was James Harden's 12 points that was able to lead the Sun Devils to victory in this one, knocking off the higher seeded Demon Deacons. Next, we have Houston taking on Virginia. And I didn't realize this before we started playing games, but Houston is low-key stacked. They had Clyde Drexler and Hakeem Olajuwon. That's like a deadly duo right there. It's going to be tough to beat that team. They were able to beat UVA. It was a close one, 22-20, but they pulled out the victory there. Next, we have number 6 Duke taking on Indiana. And unfortunately for any Duke fans out there, this was probably the biggest upset of the tournament. To this point, Indiana was able to pull off the dub. Zion Williams shown dunking the ball there, but down the stretch, Romeo Langford hitting the clutch game winner. Not really sure what went on there, to be honest. UCONN taking on Memphis. These are two really pretty even teams battling it out. We all know a lot of the UConn players, but of course Memphis had Penny Hardaway and Derrick Rose. It's a really good 1-2 punch for them, and they were able to put up enough points to pull out the dub. So 22-20, Memphis got the win there. Next, we had Arizona taking on Marquette, another very evenly matched game, but Arizona was able to get the win behind Gilbert Arenas, 9 points. And we see DeAndre Ayton throwing down a dunk there to put them ahead. Finally, we got Kansas and Georgia taking on each other. Kansas was able to win 21-14. Joel Embiid throwing down a dunk there. Andrew Wiggins led the way in points for them. And the Kansas team, I'm telling you, they're going to be tough to beat as well. I'm excited to see how all this plays out. But anyways, those were the first round highlights. Thanks for watching, and keep an eye out for episode 2 when we do Sweet 16 and Elite 8. So yeah, this has been Quarantine Madness, episode 1. Thanks for watching. We'll see y'all soon.